Welcome to Help Nobody Told Me. Our new episode today is with Neelima Gaikwad, and she is an occupational therapist and owner and administrator at A Place at Home. So we're going to talk to her about her passion for seniors and everything that she does with her business. So Neelima, tell us a little bit about how you came about what you're doing today and why it's so important to you.
Yes. So first of all, thank you for having me over here, and this is a great opportunity. So thank you so much, and thank you for listening to me.
Absolutely.
So senior care is my passion. Actually, this is what I have done all my life. I am an occupational therapist, as you said, and I worked with skilled nursing facility for almost 11 years. And after working through COVID, I just realized I don't think so I can do this anymore. The healthcare had become so fragmented at the time that I could not believe how the institutional care was going kind of down the hill. The quality of care, what our seniors deserve, I was finding that we were lacking at it, and COVID taught us a lot of things, so it did. So after COVID, I did work through COVID, and then after COVID I was like, that's it, this is not for me. So I decided to leave the healthcare. And there was a part of me, it almost said that I do not want to be part of healthcare anymore. So I almost left it for a month. That lasted only for a month.
Just drawn right back in.
Yes, because I was like, no, senior care is what I do. And I wanted to see how I can apply my knowledge, my experience with senior care, and wanted to see how I can be part to improve it, or be just a part of a paradigm shift if we can be, so that's what I wanted to do. So that's how I started looking what I can do, and I started seeing that home care, senior home care, could be something I could do where we can improve this foundational bond between the caregivers and clients and the seniors in our community, so that we can improve that quality of life, what they deserve, to be independent in their house as long as possible, and whenever they want it, whenever they want to be.
Right.
I feel nobody wants to leave the home. Even you and I do not want to leave the house. So that's how I found A Place at Home, and now it's the big piece of my life, and that's my baby, A Place at Home Schaumburg.
So how many providers do you have at your
right now? So in 22 months right now, I do have 29 caregivers.
Okay.
Yes, and I do have a director of client care. He's a physical therapist. So we have a very different way of working, and our approach is more hands-on. It's senior care, it's non-medical, but since we have the medical background, we can understand what the seniors need when they have complicated medical disabilities or dysfunctions. So how to make them independent or keep them safe, so in the house, right? So safety and prevention is a big goal.
Well, and that's the big thing, is that most of us want to keep our loved ones in their homes as long as they can be there safely.
Yes.
So a service like yours provides that for them.
Right.
And I know that the caretaker that comes into my home and spends time with my parents, they become very attached.
Yes.
If it's a good caretaker.
Yes.
Or they don't.
Very much.
And you realize that very quickly too.
Yes, you are absolutely right about that. So that is the difference we have. So we have a different approach to this. So we are I keep saying this, and everybody's probably tired of hearing that we are different than a lot of home care companies you might have met. They do great, they're big names and big brands and amazing, but we specialize in few things, that is like short-term, short shifts, So our short-term cases are anywhere from 1 day to 3 months. So we have had a call from a client who said that they want to go for a surgery and no home care company was ready to take them.
Right.
But we took the person to the surgeon. We were like, oh, this is why we started this. So we will take you to the surgery. It was an eye surgery outpatient. And she was so happy and she couldn't believe that we were ready to do that.
Well, right, because if you live alone
Yes.
and you're having eye surgery, knee surgery, whatever,
Yes.
you don't want to go to rehab. You want to stay in your home, and you
Right.
just need someone there to make sure that you can get back and forth to the bathroom safely and eat every day,
Right,
you know,
correct.
and that you're taking your meds on time, whatever that looks like for that short period of time, that you're
Yes.
doing your physical therapy every day,
Right.
things like that. That's important.
Yes.
And it's tough sometimes to find someone that's only going to work for you for 4 weeks.
4 weeks, right? Yes. So this is why we are a little different with. This is how we hire too. Our hiring is a very different process too. So when we talk to our caregivers, we tell them we're not looking for a caregiver. It's just not a job. It is, our tagline is, we are passionate professionals providing compassionate care. So if you want, this is a professional job. You're going to treat this, and we are going to make sure that we give the respect and value to you guys. And that's what it is. I've been a caregiver all my life. So, you know, I want that respect and value to me. So if I want it, how do I make sure that I give it to our caregivers is what we do. So we tell them that you will have a case for yourself. You become part of their life, and that's how you take care of them. No matter if it is 1 day to 4 days, this is how we have 4 days to 4 weeks to 4 months to forever, whatever the case might be. So this, like, you know, Mrs. Smith is going to be yours or something like that. So that's what we expect you to be once you become a part of their life. If you don't want to get treated by anybody anything less than what you expect, then don't give that treatment to anybody else. This is, so our hiring process is also very different a little bit. So it's kind of said at the time that we want to see people who are passionate. And I say this, that if you're in healthcare longer than 3 years, then you're there for a heart, not for money. Healthcare has no money, I'm sorry. So this is what I say. So if caregivers have lasted 10 years, 12 years, then they're definitely there for heart, and they're doing amazing. Yes. So this is what we do. Then if they have valued or they value the health of a senior, then we make sure that we respect and value them in a very different way. There are lots of reward programs we have in spite of just salaries and stuff like that, and that's from day one. So
Very nice.
anybody who starts with us, so they do feel that value, they do feel the respect what they deserve, you know. So that's how we work.
Great.
So you're treating the employees the way you want them to treat your clients.
Yes.
Yeah, that's great.
Yes, this
Very
is
nice.
it's a very simple relationship when they come for an interview. I always tell them, if you value and respect us, we will value and respect you. This is a very simple give and take relationship. It's not rocket science. There is nothing more to this. So you take care of our clients well, we take care of you. If you have anything that needs to be improved or so to be said, that has to be done through us. Like, you know, you come to us and let us know, and we will try and improve. That is why we are slowly growing. I'm not a company which is like boom. I'm still a small business. That's what I say. And the big thing we have is like the first day trainings. We have hands-on training with the client in the house with the caregiver. So that is what
And who does that training?
that is the director of client care,
Okay.
Casey. He does that. He's the PT, and he teaches everything. So the first day, no strangers are knocking on your door. So you are not like, oh, who are you? And mom and dad are not going to remember that there was a caregiver supposed to come today. So, that's how it is. And that's what senior care is, right?
And I love that he's a physical therapist.
He is.
So there's some things that he can offer as far as how to get them in and out of bed safely and those kinds of things that we don't.
Yes.
How to transport them into a wheelchair if you need to take them to an appointment.
Right. So this is what happened. So healthcare changed so much. So nowadays, like before, Medicare was like 100 days and you have either a hip replacement or a stroke. You go in a hospital, you stay 3-4 days, whatever it is, whatever the length of stay is. Then you're moved into inpatient rehab, and you could stay for 100 days. But now everything has changed so much. Sometimes it looks like it is like a one size fits all. Like either you have a hip replacement or you have a stroke. You are sent home in 2 weeks. Okay, so if you had a stroke, the recovery period itself is 6 months for a stroke person to get back to normalcy, from the disease itself or from that dysfunction. So it's a little trickier to see.
And even if they don't live alone,
yes,
that's a lot
for a family,
a spouse or a family member to take on.
Correct.
And they still need respite time,
right?
For
Correct.
themselves.
Correct.
Because if they're not healthy, they can't take care of their loved one.
This is what the whole.
Speaking from personal experience.
Yes. So this is why we're like, okay, so if it's 2 weeks stay or 2 or 4 weeks, you are not at standby assist or supervision level where you're just like, okay, I want someone to take mom to church or take her to the grocery store and she walks with walker. That's not the case anymore. We do get clients who are much more dependent, who are in the house, who are sent home through inpatient rehab.
Wow.
And now what happens to them there? Either they just stay in the house and the progress or the recovery is not that good, or so that means that 2 weeks, after 2 weeks, if they're not at a level what is expected or the independence level, then what happens? Then the recovery is going to be much more longer at home, because at home you're going to be like, okay, nobody's there no doctors, no therapist or anybody. You're going to be a little more complacent, and that happens. You are, who wants to work in pain? Nobody. You and I don't. So no one. So we're talking about seniors for that matter. So they need that a little bit of, I wouldn't say push, but someone to be there with them.
Right. So post-rehab, are some of those services in the home covered by Medicare?
Yes. So the rehab part is. So
right.
So if there is a medical care or medical need, yes.
Okay.
So there is home health care that comes, but that is also not as many as you could expect an inpatient.
Right.
So there's like 6 visits or so in 6 weeks or something like that. So you're just done in like a month and a half, or they say it's based on the needs. It may extend few months, but it may not be longer than that. And the therapy visits are like half an hour, 45 minutes to an hour maximum, depending on the Medicare or the insurance what you have and stuff. So you still 24 hours you're going to be by yourself. The seniors are going to be at home by themselves. So this is where we come in. So this is what our home care company does, is we will take that plan of whatever the recovery plan you had. We will train our caregivers to work through it with the family members. And that is why we call all of us as care team. So we are very involved. So we tell this to caregivers that you're going to be a team member. If you want to be part of the team, then this is the job you should be here. If it's not, then I don't think so. If you think this is another hourly job of yours, an Amazon, Walmart, Target, they pay amazing.
So you're not sending people to their home to sit and read a book and watch over grandma and grandpa.
So they're very, very involved. This is why we are different, and that's a differentiation factor, what we have from other home care companies, So this is what they do. So we are very involved. Our care plans are very involved then.
So what measures do you have in place to ensure that quality of care is consistent throughout all of your team members?
So definitely we have the check-ins, the check-in calls to check-in visits from the director of client care. He will do the training with the client and with the caregiver in the home. And we have care plans in the place. We have care goals. So we have goals in the care plan. So we will achieve them, right? So in 22 months, I say that at a time on our roster, we hardly had 12 to 15 clients or seniors at a time, but we have seen more than 100 clients for sure right now, because we get them, we onboard them, we take care of them through the health, the home health team, with the doctors, with the family member, and with our caregivers. So we're all involved, and we'll all take care of the person to get better where they want to be, and then we discharge them. So we also discontinue the care. So that is why our short term and short shifts comes in picture, So they can be long-term care, which are forever, and we have had our clients who are where you have an advanced level dementia, or so if you are at that level and home is no more a safe place to be, so then we will help them find a next place, which is they can call home, and that can be much more safer for them.
Right.
So we can help that out with the family. And if the caregiver says, Neelima, we cannot do this anymore, and it's not safe for Mrs. Smith or Mr. Smith to stay at home, they are with them 24/7 sometimes, and they know that it's not going good. So we'll make sure that then we have that conversation with family to move on.
Sure.
We do have trainings. Our caregivers are all certified. They're all licensed, insured, and bonded with us. So most of them, half of our, I would say, roster is full of CNAs too. So they are CNAs and certified caregivers. We train everybody. If they are somebody who's high schooler, let's say, if they want to be in healthcare field in future, we are saying, right, we're passionate professionals. This is our responsibility to educate them how to be a professional, right? So this is what we do then. If they do come onboarded, they get certified as caregivers, they'll do all the certifications, then they will go for shadowing with an experienced caregiver, along with the director of client care services, the entire onboarding or orientation, what he does on the first day. Before that happens on the shift, they also go shadowing with few of the experienced CNAs and caregivers. We talk to the family, we tell them that we want to, one person wants to shadow. This is a 20-year-old wants to be in healthcare, So
right.
We explain them, and they're very welcoming. So so that's how we work through, so.
Great.
I hope that's what you were looking for. I'm not.
No, that's wonderful. That's great. Tell us about a success story where you could see a significant improvement in a senior's life after your services.
So we had one senior who. So most of we have a territory, but we also have we'll get referrals from somewhere which is a little bit outside of our territory, and that would be specific to, I want Casey to be, in the home. I want Neelima, we know Casey. So since we are from the rehab background, sometimes, people know us in the community. So that has happened over these years, right? So this was one client who was a little bit far from where we are. And this was the sweetest client. This was, there was a lot of, like, she was not able to eat. She had like a G-tube and all that stuff a little bit to start with. So we started like a 12-hour shifts with her in the daytime, and it's like Sunday to Sunday. And then we started working with her, and this client used to be far. So sometimes when you send a caregiver that far, they will start getting this like, oh, I don't want to go that far, and this is too far. But there were caregivers who used to fight to go for her shift because she was the sweetest thing on this earth. So they will say, oh, I will go for this shift. She is amazing. So we have, so this client was with us for 4 months. And in that 4 month, she came down from the G-tube to eating to the last day. One of our caregivers, I had a call-in for a weekend, and this client came from 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, 12 hours, yes, and 7 days a week, to became 4 hours a week and 8-hour shift. From there it became like 5-hour shift, twice a week. And then it became once a week for last 2 weeks when we discharged. And that last visit, what we did was, I called the caregiver and I was like, can you pick up the shift for me? And you can go to this client because she's all done and she is discharging by tomorrow. So instead of going to her tomorrow, could you go today and go for another shift for a different client? So the caregiver was like, no, Neelima, I cannot do that because I'm going to call this client as Mrs. Smith, the one with the G-tube. And she was like, no, Neelima, I cannot do that. Well, I was like, why? I was like, because I have dinner plans with Mrs. Smith at James house, what is that? Steak.
Jameson
Steak Char House. I cannot say that. So she was like, we have a dinner planned and this is our last shift and and then we will be done. So sorry, I cannot take the shift, what you're telling me. I understand this is her last day. And I was like, isn't she done? Like, we are good. So from G-tube to eating together on a dinner table in Jameson's Char House. That's what it was. So from 12-hour shifts to 1
amazing
hour. Yes.
That's a success story for sure.
Yes.
So you alluded to sometimes your caregiver may not want to drive a long distance. How do you address burnout with your caregivers? So
this is what we do. We actually tell everybody that it is gonna be, so nobody gets to work, overtimes is something huge in healthcare and that's what they do. So if somebody wants to work overtime and if they have, let's say, sometimes caregivers do have multiple jobs. So at the interview itself, we will be talking about that. As I said, our interview processes are a little more stricter too. So we make sure that we know a little bit about them, what kind of, other than our job, what they will be doing. So sometimes they'll come up with, I do 4 overnights and I'll be doing a day shift with you. I'm like, no, we cannot do that. I'm sorry. You can have more availability and come back to us. We will give you a job. We will always, you are a great caregiver, you're amazing, but we cannot do that. So we have things like this in place already in the policies and procedures, which will help us to see this from the start itself, because this is what it is. Then we say, okay, if you want to go for a job, if you still say, let's say tomorrow, like, oh, no, I can still do it. I'll do the overnight and I'll still be there in the morning for a shift. And let's say even if I give you a job and you go, but if a client calls and says that, the caregiver was very tired or was not able to focus, then probably have to fire you for that. Instead of that, isn't this better that you come back to me with a better availability? And then I might be able to work with you that way. So we kind of work with their flexibility, and we make them understand. Sometimes education is the biggest piece or biggest approach we have, where we explain them how this can be done in better way for you and us both. And that is what we do. So for the burnout thing, I would say that's our biggest piece. The
You try to preclude it.
Yes.
So it doesn't happen in the first
Yeah.
place.
So education, coaching, and if we hear that somebody is, we will know with time when they're working with us for longer time, we will know that, I'm doing like so many shifts and 15. I'm like, okay, you need a day off. And that's what we do.
A lot of times, communication doesn't just involve the patient or senior themselves, but sometimes there are other family members involved. How do you keep that communication concise and clear and appropriate to everyone involved?
So what we do is all of us, we make sure our care team understands that once you're part of a place at home Schaumburg, everybody will know you. Okay, so that will happen. So communication attendance is a huge piece of our policies and procedures, so very clear about it. So texting, calling, and all that. Everybody has phone. That's like a lifeline nowadays. Everybody texts and call. So we explain them if there is a complex medical case, and that will be matched with somebody who can handle that kind of cases too. As I said, we have CNAs too. So if there is somebody who is experienced and well versed to take care of that kind of a case, and there is Casey always, so he'll be always that overhead. So family will call first him, and then it can be passed on to the caregivers, or we have all this emergency forms on their fridge, which is there on the magnet. It's all there on the first visit with the seniors. So if they want to communicate anything, all that information is right there. Sometimes we tell our caregivers that too, if they're comfortable talking to the family by themselves, because it's a complex cases like dialysis. Sometimes it's very hard to coordinate the whole thing. Right. That, what time mom needs to pick up, what is happening, or they're just sitting at the hospital and nobody's there to pick up on time. So how does that go? So in that time, they're like, okay, let's call the daughter, let's call the client, let's call the caregiver. This is like a round robin. So if somebody wants to directly communicate, it's fine. And we already know that too, that's happening. So sometimes for these kind of cases too, as I said, we have a process in place for the caregivers too. So we want to see how reliable they are. Who is that caregiver who is going for this? Who is the main caregiver for this client, So it depends on how what the match looks like.
Of course. So a lot of what you do is not covered through insurance and Medicare and things like that. Are there payment options, financial assistance, or is it all straight out of pocket?
So this mostly home care everywhere is going to be out of pocket most of the time. It's not covered by Medicare.
Unless they have short-term insurance or something like that.
Yeah, even short-term, no. But we do take long-term care insurances.
Okay.
If you have long-term care. And we just recently got credentials to take VA veterans, so VA clients.
Okay.
So we could take them too. So that's our big. Now we are just in process of starting with them, but we are credentialed to do that. So it's mostly out of pocket and long-term care insurances if they have.
Okay. What do you find the most rewarding about working with seniors?
Oh, the whole thing. So I'm big with the caregivers part too, and our seniors part too, right? So when we hear our seniors, the biggest compliment I get is when we send a caregiver to a client's home and they call and they're like, and if I have another client and if I want to substitute or just have one day with a caregiver, the client will be like, no, you cannot take this person away from me. And that happens 95% of the time in our system. This is what happens. It is very, very hard for me to remove one caregiver from somebody's house and send it to the next client. That is why it is one-on-one, and that's what it is. And our rate is right now 95% success rate for matching as well. We have caregivers working with us from the day one, that is 22 months. So this is what it is.
Nice.
In 22 months, we just received an award from Best of Home Care for Best of Employer of the Choice Award, and Provider of the Choice Award.
Congratulations.
So both of these things matter to me a lot, the caregivers and the seniors. So this is the most rewarding part.
That's huge. Huge. So what trends do you see in the future? You've seen this shift since COVID. Do you see anything else in the future in home care that may change for seniors coming
Yes.
up down the pipe?
I would say definitely institutional cares are going to go down a little bit. They cannot completely go away, of course, with a lot of medical needs. If there is complex medical need, we definitely need institutional care. We cannot have that at home, and that's going to be pretty expensive. and who's paying for that, right?
Right.
So that's what is going to be. The other thing I would say, we are starting with it right now too. I see that it's coming up. The partnership, the collaborations, with a lot of different, like previously home care used to be just competition with each other. Now, if you don't collaborate with each other, it's going to be hard to take care of a senior. So I've started saying that it takes a village to take care of a senior in the community.
You want to know that your family member is being taken care of in a loving and kind manner.
Correct.
As you would take care of them when you can't be there.
That is correct.
And there's a new face.
Yes.
It's just jarring.
Exactly. And this is also one example I give to my caregivers. If you enter a doctor's office and people say that, then the nurse says, oh, the doctor called in today because his car was not working. Will you be okay with that? If you're not going to be
Right.
okay, then don't do it to somebody. If you are not okay with that, if you're not okay that you walk into a doctor's office
Right.
and every time you enter you see a new face, then don't expect me to do that to Mrs. Smith either. Then you show up at every shift. So this is our policies are based on. So if you don't want that kind of treatment, don't give one.
Right.
You know,
It
so
just creates anxiety in the whole
whole
household.
household, exactly.
Because they're other,
Right.
family members the entire day, whatever it is that they're supposed to be doing, working, or if it's just their day to
Right.
get out of the house and
Right.
do their grocery shopping, They're like,
Exactly.
okay, is mom okay?
Right.
Like, it's just this nagging feeling of, are they okay?
Okay, exactly.
And-
This is why I say that the trends are changing with this consistency of care. There is lots. I think we are the one right now more focused. I wouldn't say one of many maybe. We're more focused on hands-on training in the house with the client. I think that would come in more as well. It's already coming in trends-wise, I think. So
Yeah.
it's coming up more. So hopefully that's what we'll see.
Is there technology out there that is being developed to help in the in-home care industry, or?
So technology, right? Technology is, so I always say technology is very good, but it's a totally different industry than healthcare. Healthcare has to be hands-on. You cannot be someone who, and senior care, no way, you know, what are you expecting? Robots in the house and Medicare to pay the robots? I don't think so. Medicare is going to pay for them. So there is no robots coming to take care of you and me. So that's not happening. So it's great. Like, you know, it's great to see the technology part is very good to see the way we can improve something like the geofencing for clocking out, clock out, to see if the caregiver is there or no, or to see their entire care plan on their small tablet or their phone and figure out what needs to be done for Mrs. Smith today, and you know, things like that.
Right.
Their shift, the directions for the house, and the time to start and end, and all that is great with technology, but it's not going to replace that
It's just a
human
tool.
piece. It's just a tool. So we have all these tools for success. It is what we provide, but how to be successful is what we're going to teach you. That's
I love
what we
it.
do.
I love it. Did we leave anything out, Kendra?
I don't think so.
Thank you so much for being with us, Neelima. I think that you just provided some great information for our clients. And if anyone out there is interested and needs some short-term care, get a hold of Neelima at A Place at Home in Schaumburg. And all of her contact information, of course, will be in our show notes. So thanks for tuning in to Help Nobody Told Me. And be ready for our next episode next Wednesday. Bye, everybody.